The world of Ivalice lies a ruin that whispers of desperation, power, and the price of hubris. The Necrohol of Nabudis. Its halls are empty, yet they pulse with the echoes of tragedy. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In today's dive, we will uncover the history of Nabudis, how its people fell, what remained behind, and what the creators of Final Fantasy XII intended when they built this ruin into the game. Prepare yourselves, it's more than just a lore, it's a warning. I would also like to announce that channel memberships are up, so if you want to continue supporting me and the channel, consider becoming a member. You will have access to some videos exclusively, as well as early access to videos before they are released. I will also have weekly posts regarding video and streams, so you know when I live stream and the topic of the video uploads ahead of time. Now, let's begin. Nabudis was once the crown jewel of Nabradia, a kingdom sharing borders and animosities with its neighbors Dalmasca and Arcadia. In its golden age, Nabudis rivaled Arcadia in wealth, learning, and magical scholarship. Mages and scholars flocked to its towers. Its spires soared, homes to arcane academies, libraries thick with tomes, artisans whose craft was unequaled. But power often begets ambition. Behind the polished facades and cultured society lay a dependence on magical might, on artifacts whose dangers would only become evident too late. The central pillar of Nabudis' strength was its possession of the Midlight Shard, one of the deified Nethicite fragments. Nethicite had been rendered inert or deified in ancient times, but the shards retained immense magical potency. The Midlight Shard could absorb or alter magical energy. For Nabudis, this was a double-edged sword, the power to defend, but also temptation to dominate. This gave them leverage when it came to dealing with their adversaries, while nothing was noted about the relationship with their neighbors. When one possesses a shard from the Suncrist, then they have leverage and power. Arcadia, seeing the rising threat of a resurgent Nabradian power with access to such artifacts, mobilized. Under the guise of a rational conquest, Arcadian judges and armies marched. Nabudis prepared its defenses, its scholars deciphering the limits of the shards, its mages weaving wards. But in the end, defense turned into desperation. In the war that followed, Arcadia made a fateful move. The judges unleashed an assault involving Draklor laboratories in the Midlight Shard. This was the start of the siege of Nabradia by the Arcadian army. With the shard in the possession of the royal family, after the death of Prince Rassler, the shard had no heir, and it had found its way in the hands of the Empire. Then we enter Judge Zet. Under orders of Dr. Sid to test the powers of deified Nethicite, Zet unleashed the power of the Nethicite at a terrible cost. The kingdom fell, armies were shattered, the land stained. Nabudis became unrecognizable. A necropolis not by choice, but by ruin. The living had barely survived. The souls of the dead were bound to the ruin, trapped by the magic that destroyed them. It is likely that many of the fiends that haunt the Necrohol are souls and spirits of those that died in that fateful event, infused with the overwhelming source of magic that resonated from the shard. When the party enters the Necrohol for the first time, we are given this warning not just because of the strength of the fiends, but also the tragedy that occurred there. For those who have played the game and are familiar with the lore, then we know what happened to Judge Zet. If you would like to see a separate lore video covering that and his lore, leave a like on this video. If this reaches 150 likes, I will cover that character. According to Final Fantasy XII's composer Hitoshi Sakimoto, the aim of the soundtrack was to evoke grand feelings, but also to contrast the beautiful with the tragic. In this PlayStation blog interview, Sakimoto indicated that he had tried to avoid negative emotions overall, but for places like Nabudis, ruined, haunted, negative emotion was inevitable. Still, he strove to build in pathways to positivity, even in dark themes, so the player is never overwhelmed. Architecturally and thematically, Nabudis is designed to be a mirror. What happens when technology and magic outpace wisdom? a theme that persists in many Final Fantasy games and even games in general that implement the use of magical energy. The Draclor Labs, the Judge's Experiments, and the citizenry's dependence on Nethicite are all warning signs that the developers wove into the lore. What remains of Nabudis is no longer a city of scholars and rulers, but a haunted tomb. The Necrohol is filled with revenants, the restless souls of those who died in agony, caught between life and oblivion. Ruined architecture, collapsed halls, shattered mosaics, cracked statues, all overrun by corruption and overflowing with dangerous beasts that were born from magic's abuse. Players who explore here find side quests that peel back layers of the past. The Medallion of Nabudis reveals fragments of history, priestly orders, guardians, the desperate last days of the nobles. Hidden chambers contain inscriptions that tell of scholarship, despair, hope, and betrayal. These relics, medallions, memorial tablets, function like scars, telling the tale that the city itself can no longer erase. The mysterious aura of this location was what gravitated me towards exploring it in the late game, but it also makes sense that when it comes to the variety of enemies, this would be the most difficult to survive. One of the greatest remnants of Nabudis' fall is the Esper Chaos, Walker of the Wheel. Sealed inside the foundations of the Necrohol, Chaos is more than just a powerful summon. He is symbolic, the wheel of life, death, and rebirth, the cycle unbroken even by tragedy. Chaos can only be summoned once the player has earned the right, after unlocking his seal in Nabudis. It's a layering of theme, power beyond understanding, punishment, and the idea that even divine forces are subject to fate when mortals misuse what they cannot fully control. Now this one's a bit interesting because it is possible that Chaos had already resided within the kingdom before it fell into ruin, or did it only call the Necrohol its home after the kingdom was in ruins due to the abundance of mist found in the area? Let me know what your thoughts are on this in the comment section below. I am more inclined to think that it's the latter because of the pattern of where to find the Espers in the game, in which they tend to be found in places with a lot of mist surrounding it. Sakimoto had mentioned that for Final Fantasy XII, the world of Ivalice needed to feel real. Not just a stage for heroes, but a place scarred by history. Shadows of conflict, moral ambiguity, unseen suffering, Nabudis is a prime example. It isn't an optional dungeon. It's emotional context made tangible. Players often remark how exploring Nabudis feels different from the standard dungeon crawling. The architecture isn't generic fantasy. It's quite specific. The grandeur and then the decay. The music isn't just background, it's actually mourning. The narrative isn't clean, it's discomforting. Nabudis is successful because it challenges us. What do we do with great power? How do we treat those who live in the shadow of experimentation and ambition? What are the consequences of those with great power who decide to use it to meet their own ends? I think Nabudis encompasses all these questions quite well. The Necrohol of Nabudis remains one of Final Fantasy XII's most haunting locations, not just for its monsters or its loot, but for its story. It is a relic of desire, to master magic, to dominate enemies, to use power as defense, but without humility. Its ruin is our reminder that history isn't just backstory, it lives on in the consequences for years to come. So the next time you walk through those ruined halls collecting treasures, fighting Espers, remember, Nabudis was real and prosperous once. Its beauty, its ideals, its people, they all existed, and the weight of their downfall echoes still. Thank you for joining this deep dive into the Necrohol of Nabudis. If this has moved you, please leave a like, share your thoughts below. What moment in the Necrohol hit you the hardest? And subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Final Fantasy lore videos. Other than that, this is Enzo signing out, and I will see you all soon.